just get a quick tuning. So.
6 o'clock, I'd like to call the caucus to order. First piece of legislation is from Planning Commission for passage. This is third reading, so as you go in for passage, this is over the fences. Any comments or questions on this ordinance? Hearing none. The second one's from Streets, Sidewalks, Public Parks, Buildings, Grounds, and General Improvement Committee. And this is for painting the Lordstown buildings. Fresh up painting. Any comments or questions on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, because of the timely manner to get this painted, we need to pass this emergency tonight before the weather gets bad.
Okay, are there any other comments? Third one's from Finance. That's an ordinance to re-engage our prosecutor through Newton Falls Court. Comments on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a 2-year agreement at a cost of $1,400 a month, a slight increase from what we were invoiced before. So we'd like to see that passed emergency tonight also.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, the next one's from Utilities Committee. It's a change order number 1 to vote of construction for the water line relocation. Comments on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. That's been passed by the Board of Public Affairs. Now it's come before the Utility Committee and we're presenting it here tonight. I'd like to see it passed as an emergency.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, the next 2 are from Finance, and they're transfer ordinances. Any comments or questions on those?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to see both of these passed as emergency. The first one is just a transfer of funds for the change order for both construction. And the second one is just some uncashed checks that we need to be cleaned up.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, the next one's from Finance, an ordinance authorizing the clerk to make necessary revisions to the revenue and appropriations budget for the amended certificate dated September 4th. Comments or questions on that?
Just like to see it pass emergency.
Any other comments? The last one's from Finance Committee for emergency passage, a resolution accepting the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Comments on that?
Just also like to have this passed emergency.
Any other comments? Okay, any questions about the minutes in front of you for passage for acceptance this evening? Hearing none, are there any questions on the bills? Hearing none, anything council would like to bring up at this time? Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to have, where's Marty? I believe. Courtney. You got the floor, Courtney.
Up there.
Hi, I'm Courtney Gibson. I live at 4198 Palmyra Road, Warren, Ohio, and I am the social government teacher at Lordstown and the political history club advisor. And we are requesting to use the table and chairs for our trunk show to raise money for some of our sponsored events we're having this year. Some of those include Veterans Day, Constitution Day, the Iowa Caucus, mock trial stuff. So we're requesting to use that. And I also want to invite all of you. We're having Constitution Day on September 17th at 9 a.m. if you would like to join us. We're having a couple of speakers come in and talk to our students on Constitution Day. So we're requesting the use for those. Thank you.
Courtney, what was the date for the Constitution Day?
It's September 19th at the high school in the auditorium at 9 a.m.
I believe we have lent our tables and chairs to the schools on previous issues, and I guess if somebody would like to make a motion under new business, if council is so inclined to let them use the table and chairs for their functions, it's up to the council's discretion. Okay, is there anything else council would like to discuss at this time while we're still in caucus? Hearing none, caucus is adjourned. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Lordstown Village Council meeting this evening. Will please stand and join me for the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, could have a roll call, please?
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Mr. Vaughn.
Here.
Mr. Mansell.
Present.
Mr. Radcliffe.
Present.
Mrs. Jones.
Present?
Mr. Shealy.
Present.
Mr. Reader.
Present.
Clerk Blank present. Treasurer George Evelyn.
Here.
Solicitor Paul Dutton.
Present.
Fleet Chief Brent Milhone. Terry Campbell is filling in for him. Fire Chief Travis Deastam. Planning and Zoning Economic Development Kelly Warner.
Present?
Parks, Buildings, Ground, and Street Commissioner Dale Green. Recreation Marty Gibson.
Here.
Board of Public Affairs.
Here.
Municipal Engineer Chris McDonough.
Present. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to excuse Chief Milhone. He is unavailable this evening. Chief Easton is still on afternoon term, and Dale Grimm said he would try to make it, but did not know whether he could this evening. He's out of vacation day also, so I'll entertain a motion to excuse all three.
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'll entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mansell, second Vaughn. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting held August 17, 2015.
So moved.
Moved by Shealy, second.
Second.
Second Mansell. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'll entertain a motion for payment of the bills.
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Reader. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor's report. I did get a call from Eastern Gateway Community College, a gentleman who Mr. Mansell and I have met with, and he said he will be bringing somebody up that is still a good potential that may become a welding lab for Eastern Gateway Community Colleges. There's been dialogue with Lincoln Electric, and we're hopeful that if this goes through and we can get an agreement, eventually they would expand and take the whole building. That's our hopes. Whether that happens, can't say for sure. A week ago, there was a fundraiser held at Ross Foods. It was for the Ladies Auxiliary. The meat was donated. It was a fire chief's daughters who raised the hogs. The meat was cut over at Charlene Farms, and it was donated by Clean Energy Futures, Mr. Seidowitz. And we were able to raise $1,225 for the Ladies Auxiliary. So that's a pretty good meal. Mr. Blank and I met with a representative from the Treasurer's office, and we were also at Chamber of Salute to Business the other day, and they had a presentation of Ohio Checkbook, and that's where a lot of different governmental entities are putting their budgets online. And it was a very good presentation. Everybody who was there were pretty well impressed with it, and we will be having our village budget put online probably all the years, starting starting from when we were last audited, so I can't remember. Is that last year and this year, Bill?
I believe that was 12 and 13.
12 and 13. So we'll be having those put online. It will take a while to get the paperwork taken care of, but we will be having our budget through Ohio Checkbook, through the Treasurer's office. A lot of other communities are doing that for the sake of transparency, and we feel that would be quite beneficial for all. I do have an appointment this evening for the auxiliary police. I'd like council to confirm, and I'll also be asking for an executive session, contract negotiations for water for the energy plant. That's it for the mayor's report. Is there a clerk's report?
No report, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Bill? Is there a solicitor's report?
No report.
Any questions for Paul? Treasurer's report?
No report.
Any questions for George? Board of Trustees of Public Affairs report?
We have a meeting scheduled for the 24th of this month at 4 p.m., and we have no report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Kevin? Village Engineers report? Chris?
Distributed my report to council. I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Any questions for Chris? Okay, hearing none. Special reports. Terry, do you have anything from police?
No, sir.
Okay, Travis is not here. Planning and Zoning Administrator and Director of Economic Development, Kelly.
I just want to let everybody know that we have a Planning Commission meeting next Monday, which is the 14th at 6:30. We have 2 site plan reviews not involving new construction. Be the reopening of Hoot and Holler. They are going to keep the name. on that new business, and another company called the Rustic Cabin. It is straight across from Ross Foods. So we'll be asking Planning Commission to approve those site plan reviews, and there is a continuation of a petition for zone change.
Okay. Any questions for Kelly? Okay, Mr. Grimm is not here. Recreation, Marty.
I have no report, but I do just want to let you know that walking and open gym basketball will start next Monday. For walking on Monday, and then open gym will start on Tuesday. The fall run program is starting.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any correspondence this evening?
No correspondence.
Okay, public remarks. If you'd like to make a public remark after I acknowledge you, please come to the microphone and give your name and address so we can get it recorded correctly in the minutes. Bruce.
Bruce Platt, 1952 Salt Springs Road. I'm here more as the water superintendent at this time. We received a letter, meaning the Lordstown Village Public Water System. We received a letter from the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, and it's dated August the 20th. And its subject is violation of maximum contaminant level for our THMs, which we monitor for quarterly and keep those records and keep a running average. The letter says basically, Lordstown Village Public Water System is in violation for exceeding the maximum contaminant level standard of 0.080 milligrams per liter as established in the Ohio Administrative Code, OAC, Section 3745-82-12 for TTHMs, which is trihalomethanes. That's a disinfectant byproduct that is in the water, gets there through chlorination and all the chemical reactions to disinfect the water. It says compliance with the maximum contaminant level is based on a locational running average, annual average. The annual average for TTHMs during the third quarter of 2015 time period is 0.089, and at location DS201 is 0.088 at location DS202. Those locations are, one location is down at the corner of Yerke Young Road and Warren Austintown Road. That's where we have our sampling monitoring point. You have to sample where the oldest water is. And then our other monitoring point is at the corner of Wood Leonard Road and Hewitt Gifford. And at each of those locations, we do not have a user within 1/4 mile of either of those monitoring points. But we still have to monitor at those locations. I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. We have to mail out this notice within 30 days of August the 20th. So we have to get a notice out to each and every one of our users by September the 20th. Wanted to get that, everyone made aware of that, instead of just mailing it and getting it in the mail, and you get the letter for that. So that's going to be in the mail. If you get any questions about it, refer them to me. Try to refer all questions to myself. My office phone number is 330-824-2402. My cell phone number is 330-360-3116. I'll be happy to talk to anyone that has any questions about that. Any questions?
Any questions from council for Bruce?
Are those considered dangerous levels for consumption, or?
they're really not dangerous levels. They have been found suspected to cause cancer if you consume the water over an extended period of time. One of the examples Mr. Vigorito gave, we've been in meetings with, we expected to receive this because we knew our results and try to stay on top of it. So we've been in conversation with MVSD. They're doing things down there to make adjustments. We're not the only system that is in violation. City of Youngstown, City of McDonald, or Village of McDonald, and there are others that MVSD supplies. So we've been in conversation with them. We've met with a couple of companies that can supply mixers for in our elevated storage tanks to reduce the levels of these disinfectant byproducts. So the discussion with Mr. Vigorito was you had to drink for 70 years an elevated level. And this, they're talking, when they say 0.80 or 0.080 milligrams per liter, that's actually parts per billion. So they're talking about 80 pennies out of a billion pennies. So it's a microscopic amount. And so we had 9 pennies too many out of a billion, you know, so in our samplings, you know, so we're going to have to be, you know, very diligent in flushing, you know, we have been, for the last 3 years, we turned valves to recirculate the water throughout the system. So we're not sampling right where the biggest usages are, you know, so it's out out in our perimeters there where there is very little usage on that. So, any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Sure. Are there any other public remarks this evening? Hearing none, are there any council remarks?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Last week, Mr. Mansell and I were talking, and we serve on the Lafarge Review Committee, and we thought maybe it would be time for us to give them a call over there to see how things are going and what's on their agendas and how things are happening over there. So I called him, and Mr. Tim Wirtz, and today he returned my call. And he told me that they would soon be putting the final cap on the north side of the landfill over there, and it would be, once this final clay cap is on, that portion of it would be completed and done. And I said, is this something that we will be getting phone calls from our residents about? You know, is it going to cause more dust and more noise and more odor than what they've experienced in the past? And he didn't seem to think so. But just to make everyone aware here that that is happening, it's going to be happening, they think this fall yet, so we should be aware of it. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. And I'd like to add to that, I know we've had a dramatic drop in the number of complaints we've had since we had that community meeting up here. Because I really think that it wasn't, where they were burying stuff, it wasn't being capped properly. But now I do believe that they are capping it properly. Now every once in a while, I know, Don, you still get a smell every once in a while when you're driving over there, but the complaints have dropped dramatically, so I'm glad of that. Any other council remarks? Hearing none, committee reports. Finance, Mr. Rackett.
Just that I have 5 pieces I'd like to see passed tonight. Other than that, no report.
Okay, any questions for Ron? Parks, buildings, grounds, general improvement, streets, and sidewalks, Mrs. Jones.
We have the one ordinance on for the painting of the buildings that we would like to see passed emergency this evening so that can be done yet this fall. And a couple of the other things that we've been working on, and I emailed all of you just some information on a material distribution policy for things like firewood, dirt, road grindings that are in excess of the quantities that we need for our projects here in the village, and how we can distribute those. And then the other thing is a policy for issuance of equipment to officials, employees, associations or organizations that might have possession of village-owned equipment, like keys to a building or use of a vehicle or file cabinets or any of those kinds of things that from time to time might be in the possession of an employee or an elected official or whatever. And I know in the past, years ago when I was on council, we were issued codified ordinance books. Well, we don't do those anymore because that's all online. We were issued police scanners, and we don't do that anymore, thank God. And so there are, from time to time, there may be things that individuals are issued, and we need to have a policy on returning of those things when you leave employment or your term is over or whatever. So those are things that I've emailed out to you. We thought there was one somewhere on firewood, and Joellen searched records today, God bless her, but she couldn't find anything on just the firewood. If anybody remembers anything like that, and it might be attached to some other ordinance, we'd like to have that as a kind of a guideline. But I did email what I had on these two policies, and if you've got any suggestions or anything, I would really entertain those and see what we can put together as a policy for those items. Okay? Thank you.
Any questions for Karen? Okay, Public Safety and Welfare, Mr. Reader.
No report this evening.
Any questions for Don? Okay, Public Utilities, Mr. Bond.
Just as I said in caucus, we do have the one ordinance up for consideration tonight on an emergency basis for the change order to finish the water line. It has been approved by the BPA, and now it's here for our action.
Okay, any questions for Bob? Transportation and Recreation and Senior Services, Mr. Shealy.
No report tonight.
Any questions for Howard? Okay, Bill, if we got the first piece of legislation.
From Planning Commission for passage, an ordinance amending and restating Chapter 521, Health, Safety, and Sanitation of the Planning and Zoning Code of the Codified Ordinances of the Village of Lordstown.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Mansell, second Jones. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 40, 2015. Next, please.
From Streets, Sidewalks, Public Parks, Buildings, Grounds, General Improvement Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance accepting the proposals of brush up painting to provide all labor, material, and equipment in connection with the exterior painting at the Lordstown Village Street Department Maintenance Building, Lordstown Village Administration Building, and Lordstown Village Fire Department Building. Such proposals being the most responsive, lowest, and best proposals, authorize the mayor clerk to enter into a contract with brush up painting and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend, please.
Motion to suspend the rules by Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Shealy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays to suspend the rules. The motion to adopt.
So moved.
Moved by Mansell, second Vaughn. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 41, 2015. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for emergency passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 53, 2013, to re-engage A. Joseph Fritz, Esquire, to serve as prosecutor for the Village of Lordstown from November 1st, 2015 through October 31st, 2017, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Jones. Roll call.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes. 6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Bond, second. Shealy?
Yes.
Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 42, 2015. Next, please.
From the Utilities Committee for Emergency Passage. An ordinance approving change order number 1 in the amount of $3,951.11 for J.S. Bova Excavating in connection with the State Route 45 Lordstown Waterline Relocation Project and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion for emergency consideration.
Motion to suspend the rules by Bond, second.
Second.
Second, Shealy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second. Second, Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 43, 2015. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for Emergency Passage. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to make the following transfer from the Utility Fund into the Capital Contribution Fund and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mansell, second.
Second.
Second by Jones. Roll call.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second by Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 44, 2015. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for Emergency Passage. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to transfer the sum of $150.53 from the general fund into the unclaimed money fund pursuant to ordinance 3999 and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to suspend.
Motion to suspend the rules by Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Mansell. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Moved by Mansell, second.
Second.
Second by Reader. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 45, 2015. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for Emergency Passage. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to make all necessary revisions to the revenue and appropriation budgets pursuant to the amendment certificate dated September 4, 2015, declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Jones. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Moved by Reader, second. Second by Bond. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. This is ordinance 46, 2015. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for Emergency Passage. A resolution accepting the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing necessary tax levies and certify them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Mansell. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Shealy, second Bond. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Resolution 15, 2015. Is there any old business council like to discuss at this time? only thing I'd like to bring up is only old because it's brought up every year, but Halloween's October 31st. When do we want to have that for, I think the office has been getting some phone calls over that, so it's a Saturday night. Normally we have it 5 to 7. Anybody want to throw out another date, or that's on?
We did that early
What other
last year.
communities are doing yet?
When I say we did that early last year, I ended up changing it.
Yeah, we did.
After Cindy put it on our water bills.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting calls.
I know, we're going to get them regardless.
We're going to get them regardless.
Probably too early.
Just make sure it's, I don't want 400 trick-or-treats.
Should we just wait until
Yeah.
we hear some other communities?
Yeah.
Our next meeting ought to be some others.
Hey, I'm just bringing it up for discussion. Okay.
It's a big thing.
Yeah. Any other old business? Hearing none, new business. I do have an appointment who I will be swearing in before our executive session after additional public remarks.
I'll make a motion also, Mayor, that we allow the school and Miss Gibson's classes to use the tables and chairs.
Okay, we'll take that motion first. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Jones. Comments or questions on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There you go, Courtney Painless.
Thank you.
Okay, for auxiliary, I'd like to have Michael L. Florvitt II appointed. He is in the audience. Mike, if you'd like to stand up so everybody can see who you are, and you do come well recommended. I will tell you that right now. Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion to have input on auxiliary policeman.
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second. Second, Bond. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Go ahead and have a seat, and we'll swear you in here in about 5 minutes, hopefully.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business, Mr. Radcliffe, before I ask for executive session?
Yes, I'd like to also make a motion to authorize a amount of $3,426.50 for CP Consultants. This is regarding the site plan review for North Point, and that would bring the total up to $13,426.50.
Okay, that should be reimbursable.
That is correct.
Okay, everybody heard the motion by Mr. Radcliffe. Is there a second to that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mansell. Comments or questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any other new business before I ask for an executive session? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to have an executive session. There will be no action taken after the executive session except to adjourn. Inviting clerk, mayor, council, solicitor, Chris Kajelnik, the Board of Public Affairs, and also Mr. Platt. Contract negotiations, water for clean energy futures. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second? Second by Mansell. Comments or questions on the motion? There will be no action taken after this. Hey, Mr. Blank, if we get a roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reeder?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays for that executive session. Is there any other new business at this time? Hearing none, are there any additional public remarks? Okay. We will be adjourning executive session. If council will give me about 5 minutes so I can swear Michael in, I'd appreciate that. So, hey, that's fine. That's fine.
Get yourself a coffee.